Well, in 2009, Sergeant Rob Duchin received the devastating news that his father had been hit by a car and killed by a 16-year-old driver who was fighting with her boyfriend by text and then striking and killing Sergeant Duchin's father, Art. Sergeant Duchin, thank you for joining us. We're so sorry for your loss of your dad. What went through your mind when you learned somebody texting had killed your father?
You know, a lot of things go through your mind. I think in the moment, there was certainly a sense of loss for our family. We had a profound sense of sadness that this 16-year-old girl had to go through this. And then as we became more aware through the Victims' Bill of Rights in the discovery of the senseless nature of what was being talked about on text, the gravity and the tragedy of the entire situation lands home with you.
You had been in the police force already for a decade, Sergeant. How did this impact you as a police officer?
Well, it immediately changed. You know, like any job, there are certain positions that in the police department are coveted and some less so. And, you know, traffic had always been one of those areas where I believed it was my duty as a police officer to do it, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do. And after Dad was killed, I just realized that this was really a serious situation that we were confronting in road safety. And if by virtue of my position and by virtue of my story, I could engage and try and make a difference, then I could take this personal tragedy and hopefully turn it into something that's beneficial, not only for our family and not only that helps me work through and process my grief, but something that benefits the community and hopefully the country.
Okay, Sergeant, you've made a passion now about educating about texting and driving. What are you telling us? What will it take to put an end to it?
Well, the reality is my objective is always to change one mind at a time. Driving is a complex divided attention task. It requires your perception, it requires your cognition, and it requires your motor skills. And when you impair driving by anything, be it drugs, alcohol, or engaging with your electronic device, texting, using the device in a handheld mode, you decrease your ability to perform fine motor skills, to perform gross motor skills, to cognitively process the environment around you, and you take your sensory attentions and you divide them between the task of driving and whatever else you're doing. And so the message is clear. If you're going to get behind the wheel of a vehicle, put your phone down, don't drink, don't do drugs, and give that task of operating a 5,000-pound vehicle at speeds between 30 and 110 kilometers an hour your complete and undivided attention, because the life that you save might just be your own.
Are the penalties enough to change our behavior into being safer?
Well, certainly we've seen increased penalties here in Manitoba, and they have gone a long way in their deterrent effect. We have first offense 3-day suspension, we have a fine that is almost $700, and we have 5 demerits which are imposed, which then has a compounding effect because it affects your insurance, it affects your license cost, and so the single act of distracted driving can end up costing you thousands of dollars. Hopefully that acts as a deterrent, but my hope would be that people would just think logically about what it is they're doing when they operate their vehicle and realize that driving and texting, driving and using a hand-operated electronic device just isn't worth the risk.
Well, Sergeant, thank you for taking the grief of losing your dad and turning yourself into a national advocate on the job. Even after losing your dad, I'm sure he'd be very proud of you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for giving us another forum to share this important message and to honor my dad's memory.
Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. What do you think about today's topic? Let us know in the comments.